Hello and welcome to Power Hour. This is a special event today where we're going to talk about Microsoft's latest announcements that they just announced during our usual time of Power Hour, and it's a bunch of SharePoint updates. So I'm excited to discuss those in today's show and see what you think. Here's the stinger. All right, I'm Laura Rogers. I'm a Microsoft MVP. My training company is called IW Mentor, and Power Hour is a show that my colleague and I, Joelle, do Wednesdays at 11 Central for about the last 11 years. And we talk about all these products like SharePoint. So I've been using SharePoint for about 20 years. I love SharePoint. I'm so excited about all these updates. So we're going to go through and discuss them. A few of the things that Microsoft announced are in the product already, so we'll demonstrate those and we'll talk about them. And there are a few things that I want to show you that they didn't necessarily talk about in the live show that are also updates that are coming out. And so if this is the first time you're joining, basically I have a chat going on in Teams, so you can request to join and we invite you to as an external user in our Teams team. And if you've already requested and been accepted, you can just simply go to Teams and click the name of your company at the top right and toggle over to the IW Mentor Power Hour. And we are in our channel, in our team called Power Hour in the channel General. And I've posted a bunch of links. I put Microsoft's playlist in here of a bunch of their demo videos for this special event. And in the Notes tab, I've added a bunch of notes and links about references to these things that have rolled out, and links and basically a list of some of the new features that I want to discuss. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and share my screen. And I have a few Microsoft tenants. So one of my tenants has some of these updates. The Power Hour tenant doesn't. I was kind of hoping it might, but you kind of never know when these things roll out and which tenants they're going to roll out to. So it's really only a couple of things that they discussed that are already in the tenant anyway. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so first of all, here is our Power Hour chat. This is in Power Hour in the general channel. Here is the Notes tab where I've got all these notes and links that I've put here for you all to go read more about all these updates. As they said in the video, as Jeff Teeper said, this is the biggest set of SharePoint updates ever. So this is the main event of the event we just watched. And then we have a whole bunch of customer stories about how people are using these products. And this is the playlist of demos. Now, I'm going to be referencing this playlist of demos. This is just a YouTube playlist, but I've also put it here, this tab up here in Teams. It won't let me rename it for some reason, but it just says YouTube. But this is Microsoft's playlist. So I'm going to be referring to some of these because some of the features that we'll be talking about are only in these videos and aren't in the product yet. Also here in the notes, we have just a couple of other links, like this is the Agreements app that they talk about. We have links about agents in Microsoft 365, adoption guides, which gives you a lot of sort of day in the life concepts of using these products. And then this blog about all these updates has all these links on it. So that's their blog about the event that just happened. Now, what I want to talk about first is this concept of flexible sections on pages. So this is not in the product yet. So this is one of those things where I'll go ahead and move this out of the way. Now, what it's going to be when it rolls out is going to give you the ability to, let me just go over to SharePoint here, and I'll go to my intranet. And it's going to have, we kind of talked about sections already. We had a Power Hour. We talked about flexible sections, not flexible sections, but the new section backgrounds. So you're going to be able to have more of a free-form interface when you're editing your pages and have the ability to just sort of drag web parts anywhere on the page. So that's a huge one. And that one, a lot of people are asking questions about and are really looking forward to seeing. And then we also have another big one is a lot of these have to do with Copilot. So this tenant here that I'm demonstrating on my screen, I do have Copilot, but a few some of these things that they're talking about have not rolled out yet. Last week on Power Hour, we did the whole Power Hour was about SharePoint agents. So SharePoint agents was a big part of some of what they talked about in this demo as well. And CJ Tan actually broke it down in one of these videos and shows actually what an agent is comprised of and opens the file in code view and talks about kind of the JSON structure, and then also talks about where the file lives and how to share it with people, and a lot of different more technical details too about how to work with those .agent files. So that I thought that was really interesting. And then just a couple of small things about pages. We have text web part, quote styles. When you're in the text web part, they just made some improvements to that web part itself in how you're editing the text and customizing bullets and tables and web quote styles. And then page co-authoring, we actually talked about this a few months ago, and we demonstrated page co-authoring here in Power Hour. So that just means that multiple people can be editing a SharePoint page at the same time. Now here, the next thing I'm going to get to here is the editorial card web part. So that one is in my tenant. So I'm excited to show you all this one. And then we'll be able to try it out and try a few different configurations of it. All right, let me make sure I can see all of your questions too while I'm in here. I gotta have multiple windows open here. Okay. Lisa said, will flexible sections be responsive automatically, or they will require tweaking? I'm assuming they'd be responsive automatically, but I don't recall if they mentioned that, so I'm not sure off the top of my head. Yeah. Okay, so another thing that Lisa was saying, asking about the Copilot licenses. Now you have this Copilot for All concept that they just rolled out in the last week or so. So this means that everybody gets Copilot. The only difference is that when you're interacting with Copilot, when you just go to office.com or Microsoft365.com with any Microsoft 365 license, you can talk to Copilot. You can use Copilot. What you don't get in that free version that everyone has is just that interaction with your business data and that interaction like inside of the different products like Copilot in Word, in Excel, those. So you do have the ability to chat with Copilot. It just doesn't tap into your business data until you have the actual Copilot license. And they made it so you don't have to buy the full year anymore. It's like a $30 per month per user. So it like makes it a little bit more approachable to be able to try it out. I'm not sure if the co-authoring works with the page's approval. I haven't tried that out yet, Carolyn. All right, so what I want to show you is this editorial card web part. So here I have and this is any of the web parts that you hear about in SharePoint. They're available on team sites and communication sites. So it doesn't matter what kind of site you're on. So I'm on a communication site, and I'll just go ahead and edit it. And we did talk about some of this newer interface a few Power Hours ago with the whole design ideas and things like that. So that's one of the things they talked about. But I'll go ahead and add just a new section here. I'll actually make this I'll give it 3 columns, and that way I can do maybe 3 different editorial cards and give them a shot. And I noticed this is fairly new in sections, is this alignment within the section. And I'll go ahead and give this section like this purpley dark gradient. And yeah, all right. So here, let's try out the editorial card. You all let me know if you see this in your tenant. This is really cool. All right, so here I've inserted an editorial card, And if I inserted it, if my section was a 1-column section, you could see that it would just be wider. And so that's inherently all the web parts are going to do that. They're just going to fill up whatever part of the page you put them on. So now let's go look at the actual editorial card properties and see what we can do with these. What do they entail? So when I'm adding a headline, I just type it directly on the web part, and let's see. This is the description. And then I have a few settings that I can't do right here in the web part, but I have the ability to do them over here in that property panel, the web part properties. So the first thing I can do image overlay here or in the properties. So I can say image overlay is what it starts off with. I can change it to color block. That looks pretty cool. And I can change it to split. Now, if I split it, let me show you what that's going to look like. If I do 1 column and I have my editorial card as split, then it splits it off across the page. So that's pretty interesting looking. And then I have, let me go ahead and configure this button. So I have my call to action is the button that is on the editorial card. And I'll just say read more. And then you could tell it what link you want it to go to. There's my web page. And you're usually going to want to have your link go to something in SharePoint when you have something like this on a page. And then you can also change the image. So I'm making changes and kind of changing the size and just trying different things because I want to show you how flexible this web part is. So I can change the image to, and in another Power Hour, I showed you how to build a site assets library. So that's one thing that you could pick from if you have a company that has a very strict sort of set of images you're supposed to be using in SharePoint. I'm just going to go ahead and go to stock images and just type business. And then just put, a meeting or something. There we go. So here is I changed my image. And you can also click to change the image here. And then the advanced editing is an advanced editing of the image. So this is something you get that's part of the image web part as well, where you can crop the image and you can make these sort of color adjustments to it and add filters to it, which makes it look really interesting. So this isn't specific to the editorial card web part, but it is just a functionality that you can do with images on your page. So then I have this sort of little add section or category name here. And I can also, I'll go ahead and just type this, oops, sorry. There. So I can also, so once I decide how I want it to look and how I want it to be aligned and kind of my color theme of it, I like that kind of that dark one, then I have my content. These are my sections. This is another way to get to the advanced editing of that image. I've got 2 different ways to do it. And then I've got what type of call to action do I want? So right now my call to action is just text. I can change it to a button. And then I can change it to an icon if I just want this one's just got a little arrow. And then the entire card, which means if I do this, then the entire card is clickable. And that is your link to whatever hyperlink you define here. I kind of like the button. I think it makes it more obvious as to that it's clickable. And then you have some accessibility settings down here to have some alternative text for it. So let me go ahead and change the way this looks again. Change it to a color block. I'll change my image again. Just give it this interesting little crown there. And then, so again, you have a lot of different ways that you can make it look. And no matter how many columns you have, it's just going to fit itself to wherever you have it on the page. So I could have a light section and then kind of some dark editorials. And the point of these is to have text with a link and a picture and just all together in one web part. So that's the gist of what that entails. What do you all think about that so far? Does anybody see this in your tenant? Have you try looking for the editorial card web part? Okay, let me know in the chat. And then another thing that we have is the updated hero web part. So let's go try that. And I happen to have, here I can actually take this and duplicate it and put it several different places. Yeah, like that. So I just want to show you that functionality. I have a hero web part already at the top. And so this web part already existed on my page. I didn't even have to add it new. It's just wherever you have a hero web part, you now get the new hero web part. So here's what's new. You have a new carousel way of looking at the web part. So the carousel is now in the layout options, and it's here at the top, or it is over on the right. Just two different ways to do the same thing. And then you can toggle between the carousel items. And there's also a image gallery web part that has a carousel as well. So this is a carousel of all the items in the hero web part. Not only do you have this new carousel, and of course, just like with the hero web part already, you could go edit each individual picture and link settings in here, and even change the overlay opacity like that. But not only do you have this new layout, but you also have the ability to add another thing to your hero web part. So when I change it to tiles, the button says add a tile. When I change it to layers, it says add a layer. And then of course, carousel, it says add a slide. So the button is different depending on what configuration I have it in. But here I can click add a tile, and then I get the same interface that I get anytime I'm setting up one of these hero web parts. I get those same settings, and it's just adding it as another tile. So I can give this it says tile 5 on here. So I can give it a header. And then I can change what it links to. So right now it just links to the image that I picked. So I'm going to probably want it to link to maybe a page on my site. So each of these tiles, that was kind of already the functionality where you can change what they link to. And then this is the new functionality right here, is how you can rearrange these and see how I dragged it up in the list. And then each one of these I can rearrange. So you could already just rearrange them by dragging them around visually on the screen, but now you can add more of them and drag them around over there on the right as well. Let's see, looking for the questions here. You don't have the editorial card or hero updates. So this tenant that I'm showing you this demo in, out of all my tenants, this is the only one. I have like 3 or 4. This is the only one that has those updates. So I'm not sure necessarily why your tenant doesn't have it and mine does. They have different sort of rings that they push these updates out in. I even have the same settings for when they get the updates in all my tenants, and this one just has it and the other one don't. So I'm not an expert on how updates get pushed out at all. All right, so I'll go ahead, and I cannot wait to see those new flexible sections though. And let's see, I'll go ahead and republish that. Oh, one of your tenants has it, the nonprofit one. That's good. Now you can play around with the new functionality. Okay, so another new thing that we're going to talk about. And so those 2 things were literally, out of all this list of updates, those were the only 2 that I could find in my tenant that were out. So now we do have the SharePoint Advanced Management that I kind of want to show you because my background's in SharePoint admin. So those functionalities are pretty cool, but let's go over some of these more visual things first. We have new multicolor themes. So this is not in the product, but I want to show you where it is so that you can see it in that playlist. So let me go ahead and I'm going to open up. I have the playlist here, but I'm going to leave. I don't want to open it in inside of Teams like that. I'm going to go ahead and just open that over in my other, let's see. it's ak.ms. Here, let me show you where that is. Let me see. Playlist of demos. Okay, so the demo that I'm referring to is engaging sites and pages, and that is at 10:10. So I'm going to fast forward this and mute it so that it doesn't play through the video. And I just want to show you what it looks like, just so that we can discuss this, because this is pretty cool. So we did a whole power hour about the new brand center. So this is showing that now you're going to have multiple colors. So the brand center is pretty simple right now. You have a couple of different colors, an accent color when you're creating a theme, but they actually have a new theme interface where when you create a theme, it's going to have multiple colors that you can select, and it's going to have multiple ways that you can make your theme look. So as you can see now, this interface looks different when you're creating a theme. It has, first of all, light and dark mode, but let's look at a couple of, look at this one. So it's got multiple colors as part of the theme. It's got all these different ways that you can preview it, and then it's got a preview of what it's going to look like on your pages. So it's just a lot more of a rich interface. And also what this one has is, you know how you can see the accessibility settings when you're building a theme right now, as I demoed in the other video? Well, now you'll be able to have not only just suggestions saying that there's an accessibility issue if two colors are sort of like a text is too close to the background color. It'll tell you it's going to be harder to read. Well, now it's going to have not just telling you that it has an error, but it's going to have the ability to give you suggestions and be able to just change those on the fly. So all that is demonstrated in that video. And then another thing that we have is these are pretty exciting. The new list forms and fields, custom message and list rules, and a new list creation experience. That is all in this video called Track Content and Info. So when I go to Track Content and Info, I'm going to show you a couple of these things, because these are not in the product yet, but these are things that we have talked about on the show, and that we've talked about the fact that it's something that's needed. So one of the things when I demonstrated how to do the new forms, the new modern form experience that exists on lists, one of the things that we demoed was the ability to build those, but then they don't really have any logic in them. So I'm going to go to where in the video that she talks about this. Let's see, somebody had a question. I've got so many windows open. This is, let's see, go to 10:10. So I don't think this is the part about the forms. I put this is, okay. So this is sort of a categories button for document libraries that gives you just a different way to filter and sort and find what you're looking for. So it's just got, you've probably seen this in OneDrive where it's got these little pills to be able to filter your information. So now it's going to have the same experience in the document library. Let's see, I saw a question pop up. Where did it go? Yeah, you're right. It's like a roll of the dice as far as which one you're going to get. Okay, so with the list forms and fields, kind of what I was going to show you is you're going to have a new experience when you're creating a new list. So check this out. You're going to have list, form, gallery, calendar, and board. So as you know, these are all views. These are all types of views that you can already create in your list. So the way that you look at the list is not new, but the new list creation experience where you start by picking one of these, that is going to be new. So most of this is the same. It's really just you're picking a view for your default view as you're creating the list. Maybe they wanted it to be more front and center and obvious as far as how to make your list look certain ways. So now it's just not really new functionality, but just a new interface to kind of highlight these different ways to look at lists for people that might not be familiar with SharePoint. So another thing that she showed in here is this new form. So with this new form creation, this is what I was talking about, the modern form. And again, we did a power hour about these a few weeks ago. They're adding more functionality to this. So now there is actually an image, like a logo that you can put at the top of your form. And it's also going to have branching logic. So this is the big piece that people have been asking about as far as how to make it show and hide things according to different values in the list. So in the form you're filling out. So this is one of those things that has had it just a very simple concept when you're just using a regular SharePoint list. Sorry, she's still kind of going on through this. And as you're going through a SharePoint list and filling out just a regular classic, just the built-in SharePoint form, you do have a little kind of a way to build conditional fields that show and hide using this sort of cryptic code that you have to be able to generate. But this is now putting this concept of showing and hiding different things according to logic into the form itself. So I'm going to go look for that. But the form itself is going to have that capability to build branching logic just like in Microsoft Forms. So it's kind of interesting how they're taking like the cool SharePoint functionality that we like and things that we like from Microsoft Forms and kind of putting it together. So I'll show you the one. Let's see. I did notice in, let's see, one of my lists. Let me just go to this request list. So it does have a slight different look to it now. You have the ability to add a logo at the top left. And then the thing doesn't exist yet with the branching. So you're going to see the branching. I think she had it kind of over on the right in the settings where she was doing the branching logic in this new modern form. Cannot wait to see that. That's really exciting. Another thing that we have is, let me go back to my list. The list rules. So right now, list rules, when you just go create a rule to get alerted about things, it's very generic and it doesn't have much functionality in it. You just get what you get with the email that gets sent. And now they're going to give you the ability to have a custom message that you can write that will show up in that notification email when you're creating rules. So yeah, and then there are a lot of different Copilot. I can't wait to see some of these new Copilot functionalities that they talked about, especially the autofill columns. We'll probably be doing a whole power hour about that when that comes out. I can't wait to see it. I have been trying out the agreement solution. That is very involved. So that's not something that I can just quickly demo, but that is part of Syntex. It's going to be an extra license, but it is for, think about legal companies, legal departments, any kind of contracts and agreements that if you have a lot of those, it's much better than Quick Parts, and it has logic as far as putting fields into a contract or agreement that you're building. So I actually have a link here to show you about the Agreements app, and that's actually right here. See, it says Agreements, and that's an app that you're going to be able to have in Teams. So in this tenant, I don't have that one turned on, but that's where it's eventually going to be. So let me go back to where I was. And okay, and then the next thing is, let's talk about Translate was another thing that's going to be more of an AI concept. Some of the SharePoint Advanced Management. So my background was in SharePoint admin. I was a SharePoint administrator like 20 years ago when SharePoint first came out. And so I definitely have that as a perspective that I have. I didn't start off as like an end user or power user. I started off as an admin when SharePoint was brand new. So some of the things that you're able to do now as an admin with the SharePoint Advanced Management are very cool and something that's been needed. And so here is Advanced Management. Now they announced that this is going to be part of a Copilot license. So this is the Admin Center, and I clicked on the SharePoint Admin Center. I clicked on Advanced Management. Let me go ahead and see if I can zoom in. There we go. And I went ahead and just clicked to start a trial. They did announce that it's going to be part of Copilot. So I do have a Copilot license. So I would think that this would just be free for me as part of Copilot. But this is going to be some new functionality that you'll be able to do with, let me go get my my chat pulled up here so I can see your questions. Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to go over every single one of these, and they did talk about these videos in the playlist, the Microsoft playlist I shared with you. So this is in there. It's just, as you kind of go through the playlist, it gets more and more technical and more advanced and, kind of dev and admin stuff. So what I want to show you is my favorite thing in here is the site lifecycle management. So when you click, basically it's going to take you to the policies. So it kind of shows you where it is, but it's going to take you to site lifecycle management. And this is where I'll be able to do a couple of different types of policies. So I'll say inactive site policies, and it's got a lovely little wizard that walks you through creating what you want your inactive site policy to be. And it even describes what everything is. So it's going to generate reports of inactive sites, send emails to site owners, act on sites that are inactive. Now, these are all things that I've seen people do before in SharePoint, but they were more custom built solutions and custom dev. And this is more, built into the product and kind of an easier interface. So you're going to say, how long after the last activity should a site be considered inactive? And I'll just say 6 months. And then which sites, so you can actually pick specific types of sites like this. And you can even filter it by however the site was created. Maybe you want people who, just end users clicked from the SharePoint home and click create site. Maybe you want it to only apply to those. So you could filter that down. And then decide whether you want to include sites with already have retention policies. And then if you want to exclude specific sites, you can do that. And then here is who should be notified about it. And then we have, what do you want to happen? Enforcement actions. So you want to take an enforcement. So I would like to do this. This is something really common where you just want to set the whole site to read only. So I could say if it's inactive, it just sets to read only. And then you can actually turn on the Microsoft Archive and archive the site. So this is huge. Some of you might have SharePoint sprawl. You might have hundreds of sites. I had a customer one time say, well, we haven't rolled out SharePoint yet in our new SharePoint Online tenant. And I went and looked in their tenant and they had 200 SharePoint sites already. So they hadn't even rolled it out, but end users had just created all these sites. So, and they didn't even necessarily realize that they were there. So this is going to be great for kind of keeping it cleaned up and keeping from having that SharePoint sprawl. I'll just go ahead and cancel this one. That's an inactive site policy. And then you also have site ownership policy. So this is great for making sure that you have owners on a site. So what if your site owner leaves the company, or what if you want every site to have 2 owners and a site maybe only has 1? You want to enforce this policy that makes the site have an owner. Because I've seen this happen too, where sites just kind of, they don't have an owner, but people are still using it, but nobody really wants to take responsibility to be the owner. So it's not really abandoned, but nobody's managing, permission requests or managing the site at all. And it's good to have 1 or 2 site owners. So this is what has the same kind of concept here, where you can pick, specific types of sites you want this apply to, filter it by the creation source, and kind of some of the same settings as the other type of policy. And then here's where you can say minimum owner. So 2 is recommended. I could just say 1. You have to have at least 1 owner. And then who do you want to notify? Basically letting them know that this site needs to have an owner and someone has to claim responsibility for this site. So this is letting you know sort of who, like how many, if you want members to be notified, if you want 5 of them or to be notified or something like that. And then what do you want to happen? You can say if no owner takes ownership, no one takes ownership, you're going to set the site to read only. So you're kind of forcing them to do this. And so all these policies and this site advanced management is going to really help you with having more control and being able to control your SharePoint sprawl. And it's going to be a really great way to manage. And you can see you have a lot of different functionalities in here that you might want to try and dig into. It doesn't seem like it's that expensive. I think it was like $3 a month, but I'm not sure if the $3 a month is for just me, the person setting it up. So that doesn't seem too bad. But again, they announced that it's going to be part of the Copilot license. All right. Do y'all have, oh yeah, Lisa said there's another third-party product, ShareGate. It has notifications. So ShareGate's a great product for doing some of these management capabilities. It'll let you know about some of this type of site management, some of these concepts. All right, let me go ahead and switch back over here. All right, well, we have had a great time. We tried out, I wasn't sure, but when I announced that I was doing this, I wasn't sure which of Microsoft's new features were going to be in my tenant when I was going to do this demo. So at least a couple of them were there, and we were able to try those out. And then I had a great time discussing all this new functionality with you, and excited about what's to come, and especially like the autofill columns and the flexible sections. We'll be doing other power hours about these things kind of as they roll out. So stay tuned. Check out iwmentor.com. That is my online training site. I've got hours and hours worth of SharePoint training, Power Apps, Power Automate Teams, all those products. And check the schedule. Click schedule at the top navigation of our site and be able to see when the next power hours are going to be. So thanks everybody for coming, and we will see you next time.